Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Tony Sirianni podcast. I am thrilled to have my good friend Tom Metzger, who is the head of private wealth advisors at Citizens Bank. Did I get that right, Tom?
You got it right, Tony.
Cool. All right. 2 years, 10 teams, $10 billion. That's pretty good, you know. So tell me, what's the secret sauce there? What do you think advisors are responding to over at Citizens?
No, thank you, Tony, and thank you for having me on this morning. I
Sure.
think we've had a lot of fun over the last couple of years, and to your point, we have gotten the attention of some incredible teams that have made the decision to join us. I think what we're seeing is some white space in the industry right now. There was some turmoil a couple of years ago between SVB, First Republic, and from that, Citizens took a very intentional step into the private wealth space and private banking space. But what we're finding is that it wasn't just the ability to offer full balance sheet. It wasn't just a white glove service. It wasn't just something new and boutique. What we're also finding is that advisors are facing this decision of, I've had a successful practice. Do I stay in a, large institution? Do I stay in a W-2 model? Do I do something more independent? And what we're finding is that we feel that we're in this interesting sort of niche space where we have a lot of independence with how we go about our
It is. I think I think guys are kind of, you're a bank, but you are viewed as the culturally, or just the feel of it is indie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very entrepreneurial feel within Citizens. And so what we're finding is that we're taking up this place where advisors are thinking, well, do I go independent or do I stay and do something with my clients with a full balance sheet approach, being having access to a balance sheet? And we're finding that we're in that in-between space and we're having a lot of success with very entrepreneurially, like full balance sheet minded advisors. And it's been a great run over the last 2 years.
What's it been like converting, billion-dollar teams over to the platform? I mean, because they're coming from, it's a billion-dollar team. They're obviously already successful, right? They're coming from I want to say more captive, but a more structured, maybe thought of a structured, situation. We're going to have to get into this, as we go on. But how are you finding converting them to the Citizens platform? And maybe what are some things they're maybe surprised about when they get there?
It's a great question. And when we really got started 2 years ago, what we were confident in is we have incredible talent on our operations team. We have incredible talent within the broader organization,
Yeah.
and we have best in class platforms. We're multi-custodial. We have a hybrid platform between a separately registered RIA and a full brokerage platform along with the trust platform. But it still takes that individual relationship between the advisor and their client. And what we're finding is that regardless of whether we are brand new to this space or not, great advisors that have great relationships with their clients, that supersedes any of the limitations that
Yeah,
you might
I think
expect.
I would agree. I've always found that the relationship is
Right.
for the great advisors with the advisor, but they can't take them to a crappy platform because at some point they're going to be like, "I love you, but," right?
No, that's right. And so, look, we're getting better every day. We're making refinements every day, and we're making a huge investment into the business. And part of the type of advisor that we're bringing in is someone that wants to build. And so we are taking sort of through reverse inquiry, like listening to the field, what is it that we need to do to make our platform better? And through that, we're making some of the investments that are going to make the experience better for the clients today and the advisors today and the future. But the components are all there, and I'm happy to say that our advisors have had very successful transitions. And that's not to say that we are spiking the football as if success. It's like you have to get better every day, and you have to make investments every day,
Platform is an ongoing thing. It has to be.
ongoing every
You have to
day.
constantly, improve it because the industry is changing so much. So
That's right.
I kind of like to call this the Goldilocks syndrome with you because it's not like, it's not quite independent. It's not like a rigid W-2. You're in that in between space, which is I think that's probably what they're finding most attractive. That and a balance sheet. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So they get there, they're in the Goldilocks mode. Oh, this fits well. Like the culture. Tom's a nice guy, and guess what? Versus some of the typical smaller entrepreneurial indie competition, right? There's a real balance sheet here. So let's
That's
talk
right.
a little bit about some of that sort of the high power stuff that you guys have, including M&A and some of the stuff
Right.
you do for businesses. But let's just hit the balance sheet first and how advisors can access that and how you use it.
That's right. Well, so I mean, I would imagine it's fairly agreed upon that some of the best advisors, they work with their clients on their entire relationship. So it's not just managing assets, it's not just managing credit, it's not just managing their trust. It's all of it. And with that is comes the capabilities that Citizens has, where we have especially with some of the bankers that have come in through the First Republic acquisition, we have incredibly skilled and best in class bankers that really understand sophisticated credit. On top of that, we have a very mature commercial bank, an M&A group, an investment bank out in West Coast with JMP, where we find a real competitive advantage is that in addition to being able to serve the clients a personal balance sheet, we really cater to business owners well, and especially those that are thinking about potential exit, M&A, transition, transactions. We have a really best in class like commercial bank that can support them as well.
I think what could be frustrating sometimes at a very big, wire firm is like, hey, my client has a string of dry cleaners and now they're going to sell it for $200 million. And they go, okay, sport, we'll take it from here.
Yeah.
The guy off. So what happens? What's the difference at your shop? Is it a little nicer than that,
Yeah,
maybe?
I can relate to that experience, having been at a couple of different firms along the way. It's just very different as Citizens. Like one of my best friends at the firm is the president of the investment bank, Mark Lehman, and we're on speed dial with each other. I mean, this is someone that has taken a personal interest in meeting every new team that has come on board with Citizens. He makes it a personal interest to meet with all of our groups on a regular basis, strategize with us on like how do we best integrate, his team and our team. And that's not just Mark, that's everyone that you find along the corporate bank. That's, Ted Swimmer, that's all of our great market leaders across the entire platform. It's a real cultural difference where they are eager and excited to introduce their best clients to our best advisors. And right now, the biggest challenge we have is we have 16 really great teams across the entire country. And there's 300 plus commercial bankers, and there's just as many private bankers. There's a real need to be able to meet the demand.
And it's and typically like I was mentioning before, it's usually like, okay, well, we got this. You're For advisors, they typically their best client, sometimes you have a guy on your book, with $5 million, but he's got this string of dry cleaners, and one day, it's good. Or you have somebody who's already sold it, and he's got $10 million in three other firms, and,
That's right.
and five with you. So what you're saying is, look, these are that type of client is not the $4 billion client, but that's the type of client that's typically in an advisor's book. You know what I mean? And you guys can
Exactly.
work with that guy versus hey, he's even too. You also get this is too small for us, right? We're not gonna work with your guy.
Well, I think that's where I think when with Citizens, a lot of ways, I think we support like the majority of America today. Like we work with family-owned businesses, privately held businesses. Our mid-corporate market is not working necessarily with they're not focused on the Fortune 500 companies. While we have many of those clients as well, like where we do our best work is with the individuals, which is how so many of like the really best and biggest teams in the industry have grown, is working with clients that emerging wealth, grew their business, became liquid, then worked with an advisor to manage the wealth. Where we find ourselves at a real advantage is that we have many of those clients today already at Citizens that need to work with a great advisor to help think through transition. But to your point, so many advisors today already have clients like that in their book. And instead of having to think, well, do I refer them to a commercial or investment banking group that may diminish my own credibility, or sort of to your point, like we'll take it from here. It's a very collaborative effort, and it's a culture built off respect and working together versus like we have it, stay in your lane. Like it's a real one firm approach.
Well, and I think also just in terms of accessing capital from you guys from you and your team for succession, or if they want to maybe buy another team, buy another business, that kind of thing. I mean, you're available for that too, right?
Well, look, one of the fun parts of being, we think of ourselves as, sort of like a startup within a larger Fortune 500 company with a great balance sheet. So as we think about how do we do a transition program, as we think about how we do a sunset program, this is not a, coming down from the mountain and here's what the program is. We're
Right.
working directly with the teams that have made the decision to join us and the teams that were already here and saying like, how can we do this together? What is it that you want this program to look like so that it's a win for you and a win for us? So it's a very collaborative program or it's an environment. And to your point, having the resources of a large firm to be able to put these things together allows it to happen.
And also that brings up the issue. I think out there are a couple things going on. One is equity versus enterprise value, right? There's a lot of talk about equity in the space, right? And really all these things you just spoke about speak to building enterprise value. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Right.
So succession and also retirement. Those are things that you want to make sure there's funding there. And I would think you're better off if you can do it at home versus leave. You're better off doing it at home. You already have a spot.
I mean, I think they're better doing it with us in our home.
Well, that's
But I think,
their
yeah,
home.
but I think, I mean, that's a conversation we have with every successful team that is thinking about making a transition is do I make the investment to stay where I'm at? Do I think about doing something more independent and try to, acquire some, private equity money to take a stake in an independent firm? Or do I do something like join Citizens, work with Tom, work with the entire firm? And the way I think about enterprise value is, um, you know, we believe we can help advisors, like the right kind of advisors that think about full balance sheet that cater towards business owners. We think we can help those types of advisors grow their business faster than anywhere else they could. And so with that, enterprise value is, do I have a $5 million business today and we can help you grow that to 10 and 15? Like that is a different way to think about enterprise value versus like what would my EBITDA be if I was independent and thinking about potential transition or liquidity event. So like good choices all around. We think of ourselves as growing that type of enterprise value in a different way.
So back to this Goldilocks thing. You guys are also multi-custodial, right? And
That's right.
I think that's very interesting. Talk about that because it's just another choice that you would expect to have at a independent firm. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, we see that as our competitive advantage that we offer, a variety of different ways that, best in class teams can serve their clients. And so some of our teams have joined us from more traditional private banking platforms that like previously operated more on a trust platform. And we have a great national trust. We opened up a Delaware trust capabilities. We have a separate RIA as well that partners with Fidelity, Pershing, Schwab, and we have a full broker dealer and we allow our advisors, licensing dependent, of course, like, hang your license on on the appropriate entities that we have and how you service your clients. Like we trust you to deliver that.
right.
We'll help you. We'll provide the right resources. We'll grow those resources and refine them. But we're not it has to look one certain way. We believe that for the right type of advisor, they can come from a variety of different places and provide them the right types of choices to be able to make those decisions for their clients.
So the other, and we talked about this with the just around it with the Goldilocks, but I had written it down as something just to see your thoughts on it. Control versus agency seems to be another of the big, topics, right? Equity versus enterprise and control. How much control can advisors have? How much control does the firm need? How do you balance that, in a banking environment? Oh,
I think that's right. Tell her I say hello.
I
Yeah.
will. We're in Nantucket right now. It's freezing cold, so you are keeping us from lunch, by the way.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I'll try to be riveting if she's off in the if she's listening. So, look, I think the reality is we talked about it at some of the beginning of the conversation is the control is with the advisors and the relationships that they have, and that follows them regardless of the name on the firm. It's our job and it's our belief that regardless of the platform, regardless of the name, like you have to honor that relationship that an advisor has with their client and provide them the right resources so that the experience that the client has is superior. Like that's our job.
Yeah.
And we need to support them. We need to invest in their platform. We need to invest in their business because ultimately agency and control is really about the agency and control of an advisor that with their client relationship, and the advisors that have the best client relationships have the most control and they also do the most business. And so it's just the nature of the beast where if you want to have the best platform, the fastest growing business, the best advisors, you're also bringing on advisors that have the most client control. And I mean, let's just let's just acknowledge it and honor it versus trying to fight it.
I love that. I love that attitude. Believe it or not, we're running out of time here, but um, I do want to hear your thoughts on what's next in your opinions, for this end of this going to this year and 27 kind of what do you, but Jen, just to hit on what I think this Goldilocks thing that you guys developed for a bank to have, multi-custodial and all things you do, I think it is really unique. And it sounds like you've adapted, as times have changed, right? It's not a traditional bank situation. So what's going to happen next in your opinion, or where do you think the firm needs to be to continue to compete like that?
No, it's a great question. I think that we talk about this a lot within our own leadership meetings and across the citizens enterprise where the world's changing fast. And so, plans need to be iterative, plans need to adapt. I think that we have to make the best decisions possible in the moment that we're in and recognize that, technology, platform, it's moving at the speed of light, and we have to recognize that and keep up with it. Part of that is, you think about what's next. I'm not the first to say it, but there's this enormous wealth transfer happening, the great wealth transfer, $120 trillion of assets changing hands. That is having a enormous impact on how you think about supporting clients and supporting advisors. That's everything from how do you best support advisors that are reaching their own retirement and succession. How are you supporting that segment of clients within that whole wealth transition of like we're business owners, we're also reaching the point of needing to find a liquidity event. It's we think that we have this unique ability to put ourselves at the epicenter of where we think America really is, like supporting that business owner through that next generation. And it's everything from supporting it through platform, through providing the right resources with our private bank and commercial partners, through helping them think through succession plans, how to bring in new talent into their own teams. It's a variety of factors that's also changing at the speed of light, so you got to keep up with
Well, that's awesome. That's a highlight. I'm gonna leave it on that high note.
it.
Awesome, great talking to you again, and we'll do this again. And
Yeah, I
look
would love
forward.
to. All
All right, buddy. Thanks.
right, thanks.